All right, you guys have got no idea what I have done just to be able to go live right now. Anyways, I am in the middle of putting this here. Go ahead and zoom in on it. I'm in the middle of putting this here bench grinder together, and we're almost done. We're about this close to being done. I got a couple of little lights and braces to put on, so I'm gonna go ahead and put these on here in a moment. Just making sure that everything is put together proper. Set up. Okay, LED light. Man, and I just hit my hand a second ago. I went to go grab a bucket or something. I actually went and grabbed this stool so I could put my computer on it so I can watch, you know, the live and react to everything. And I just slammed the hell out of my hand. Use QR code. Damn it, where's my phone at? Come on, man. All right. Yeah, that's probably gonna be bruised tomorrow. Damn, dude. Yeah, I just slammed my hand into the engine stand. Excuse me. Let's see, what am I live on? I forget. What TikTok am I going live on? Let's just double check because I don't remember what account I'm logged into. Stream. All right, JDMJ. Okay, cool. Cool. I need to, how do I log in? Man, they make this so difficult. Is it this? This is it. There we go. That way I can get my TikTok chat pulled up. Make sure everything is looking proper. All right, there we go. There we go, baby. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and put TikTok over here. And let me pull up Streamlabs. Okay, all right, guys, bear with me. Like I said, I just spent probably the last hour and a half just setting this up, between understanding how I can get power to the camera so the camera doesn't die, getting power and making sure that the bench grinder is safe, setting up the wheels, you name it, getting lighting out here. So anyways, we're live and we're recording. So whether you're watching this live or you're watching the recording later, thank you for hopping in. I had to go ahead and switch the camera lens too. That way I could go ahead and zoom her in and zoom her out. We got some crispy audio, check, coming in. And yeah, so without further ado, what the hell am I doing? Okay, well, to answer that very simply, I am putting together this bench grinder that I just picked up from Harbor Freight. Let me go ahead and slide it over so you guys can see it. And behind me, I have a dozen bolts from my 2JZ engine. Go ahead and get out of frame so it'll focus on this. So this is not just, this is one of like 4 or 5 jars that I have of bolts. Obviously I have to go through and sort them, but I came up with a great idea of, well, the other day, it all starts yesterday. So let's go ahead and back in time. So it started yesterday where I went to Harbor Freight. Go ahead and zoom in a little bit. So I went to Harbor Freight and I wanted to get a ultrasonic cleaner. That way I could clean up some bolts. Well, when I went to Harbor Freight, I picked up the ultrasonic cleaner. It heats to almost 200 degrees and it works great. Well, I started cleaning up these bolts and some of them still have a significant amount of corrosion and or rust on them. As you can see, hold on, let me get my face out of here because it's gonna wanna lock onto my face. So, as you can see, some of them have a significant amount of corrosion. So I came up with a great idea of how about I get a bench grinder from Harbor Freight, take the bench grinder wheels off, right? Get a wire wheel and get a cotton wheel. That way I can wire wheel off the corrosion and then polish them up once the rust and whatever has been taken off the bolts. So that's how we are here. And over here, I also have a assortment of metal polishes. So I just picked this one up from Home Depot a little bit ago. This is called Brasso. So this is good for, my apologies. It is good for stainless, chrome, pewter, aluminum, bronze, brass, and copper. So this should do the trick. This I've heard to be a little bit gentle. Go ahead and check this chat. And hold on just 1 second. Let me go ahead and pull this over. That way I got the TikTok chat, and then we're gonna pull up. Okay. And then we're gonna put Streamlabs on this side of the computer. Ta-da. Okay. So we got Streamlabs over here. Actually, you know what? Let's do it the other way. Hold on, just bear with me real quick. I gotta make sure I can see the chat and everything when people are dropping stuff in. Okay. Perfect. All right, now we're talking. Okay. Why does it look like that? All right, well, whatever. We'll figure it out. Let me close this out. And thank you guys all for jumping in right now. I really appreciate it. Sorry, I'm just making sure that I can see the TikTok chat and the live stream. But yeah, so we got some metal polish. So I've got this one, which is Brasso. I picked this up from Home Depot, right? And then I've got some light metal polish from Chemical Guys. I've used this a couple of times. This stuff is pretty great. You can use this on chrome, stainless, aluminum, and it cleans and restores with a mirror-like finish and protects and prolongs. So this is what we're using. I will probably do, the cam is crazy. Hey, brother, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm actually using a dedicated camera. To be fair though, TikTok, I apologize. I haven't figured out how to set up the vertical format. So since I'm recording and streaming to YouTube and Twitch and other services all at once, maybe next time I'll stream with my phone. However, I just figured in the meantime, I will just have it coming through in horizontal since I'm recording and streaming, and this is gonna be going up on YouTube later. But thank you very much, I really appreciate it. Also, what kind of cam is it? Here, let me just go ahead and pull this over since I can't. Oh, what kind of car? Hold on. My apologies. I gotta pull this over so I can see the full chat. What kind of car do I have? So, believe it or not, I have a 1988 Mark III Toyota Supra Turbo, but I have a 2JZ engine that I just got about 4 or 5 days ago from the junkyard, and it is gonna be going into said 1988 Mark III Toyota Supra Turbo. Sorry, it's slightly thrown me off because for some reason out here, just like everywhere in Vegas, I don't know if something has been on fire recently. I don't know if it's California on fire, but it smells like fire in the air. And the fact that I've got like a lot of things going on makes me cognizant to make sure that something isn't on fire, okay? For reference. But I have a 1988 Toyota Supra Turbo. How lucky did I get to find that in a junkyard? Well, brother, let me tell you, when I first got there, so, oh man, this is a great story to tell anyways. So, the 2JZ engine, back about a year ago, before my dad got married, we went to the junkyard. Now, my stepmom drives like a 2013 Ford Fiesta. She's got a brand new car now, but at the time, she needed an interior part for her Ford Fiesta. So we went to this place called the Nevada Pick-A-Part. If you guys live out here, you know what I'm talking about. If not, basically it is a large yard full of cars, different makes, different models, different years, and you can go in there and get parts off of the cars. It's all self-service, so you have to go there, you have to bring your own tools, you have to bring the parts up to the front, and then you have to pay for them. It's a lot cheaper though than going to certain places like online, or certain parts that you can't find like on eBay or even from the manufacturers after they've been discontinued and they no longer are in production. So I went there with my dad, we found the part for her car, and then we were like, you know what the hell? Let's go ahead and keep breezing through. I was like, you know what, Dad, let's go to see if they've got a Toyota Lexus section, okay? So as we were going to the Toyota Lexus section, we're looking through, we're checking cars. Also, Jacqueline and Vardo, Boost LEK. Yo, thank you guys for jumping in. Kai, I appreciate it. I hope you guys are all having a great Sunday night. But anyways, we were breezing through the yard, right, looking for cars. And as we're looking through, we get to like the Toyota Lexus section. Now, these cars are in different, like these are not cars that are in pristine condition. These are cars that have had some form of damage. They've been totaled out and they end up at this yard. So we're breezing through the yard, and as we're breezing through, we're looking through. Mind you, I wanted to find an engine for my project car because I've got an 88 Mark III Toyota Supra Turbo. If you guys go on my profile, you'll see it says owner of Sanguine Supra. If you click on that, that's my car page, and you can see my 88 Mark III Toyota Supra Turbo. It originally started as a stock automatic 7M GTE. So it was a turbocharged car, and as we're looking through the yard, I noticed one thing. So right at the back of the yard, up against, they have like it's like barbed wire fence or electric fence or something. And something very distinct stuck out to me. So as I'm walking through and I get to this final car in the row of the Toyota Lexus section, right? I see it. I see it in all of its glory. So if you guys know what the 2JZ looks like, you'll notice that there is a cam phaser. So the VVTi engines, aka variable valve timing, VVTi and intelligence, right, has a special intake cam that can rotate to retard or advance the timing 30 degrees. And I noticed it immediately. I noticed it instantly, combined with the valve cover, and I could just instantly tell that it was a 2JZ. So that sparked my my want to be able to go to the yard and get the engine out. However, my dad, we were days away from my dad's wedding, okay? So while we were just nearly days away from my dad's wedding, right, we were planning on originally getting family members and people together, like my stepdad, my grandfather, a bunch of other people, so we could go to the yard and get the engine out. Well, lo and behold, Dad's wedding comes to pass, and we have the wedding, we've got the service and everything. Then my dad goes out of town right afterwards because it's his honeymoon, and I don't blame him at all for this. I definitely understand that life happens, and that just happened to be one of the things that happened and transpired. Well, so basically what I'm getting at is I never had a chance to go back to the yard and get the 2JZ. So about a year goes past, and now we're at almost present day, and about 8 days ago now, or maybe a week, 7 days or so, maybe 5, I can't exactly remember. There's been so much going on between Christmas and the holidays and spending time with family and everything. So about a week ago, I take my tools, right, my jack stands, my aluminum jack, my sockets, my wrenches, just, a couple basic tools. And I'm like, what the hell? Why don't we go to the yard and see if that 2J is still there from before my dad got married? So I go to the yard, I drive the 11 or so miles or however far it is to the yard. And when I get to the yard, I load up a shopping cart with my tools, I pay the $2 to get in, and then I start breezing through. And I start looking for the Toyota Lexus, aka like the JDM section. So when I get there, I roughly had a image in my mind of where that original car, it was a Lexus ES300 or something like that, or maybe it was an IS300, or I'm not 100% sure what car it was because I don't exactly remember, but I remember it was gold and it had rear end damage. So I'm looking through the yard, right, and I get to the Toyota Lexus section, I find the section, right, and I have a rough estimate of where the car was. It was at the back of the lot, like I said. It was the final car in the row, so it was all the way back, deep, just intermixed with all these other, Toyota and Lexus vehicles from different years, makes, and models. And I've got my shopping cart full of tools, and I'm looking for it, and I get to the final car in the row, and it's not there. It's not there at all. In fact, it's entirely gone. So somebody must have gotten the car, or the car was entirely parted out by that time, and it was unfortunate. It was quite unfortunate, in fact, because I was really looking forward to getting that 2J out of that car. Well, I go to other rows and I'm looking for it, and I'm scratching my head thinking maybe I'm looking in the wrong row. Maybe I forgot where it was located. Maybe it was in a different spot. So I continue looking. I'm looking in different rows in the final car of the row. So I'm looking for it. And as I'm looking for it, I finally recognize it's gone. It's gone, and it's long gone. Okay. And when I realized that it was long gone, I was quite disappointed. I'm not going to lie to you. I was in fact quite disappointed to know that it was gone. So, I get the thought in my head, what if I just check? What if I check? Maybe there's another car that's got a 2J. Maybe who knows? Who knows? So, various other Toyota Lexus models in basically the same row that I recall this car being in, right? So I'm looking. I start breezing through. Some of the cars have the hoods open, some of them don't. So I'm going in, I'm popping hoods, I'm lifting hoods up, I'm checking. 4-cylinder, V6, and I'm breezing through, and I'm trying my best to find a car that's got a 2J. And I've got understandings of certain models. Mainly it's going to be Lexuses, because Toyota Lexus, I know that was one of the cars that they've got the 2J in. So as I'm popping hoods, I get to this one car, and it is a white pearlescent GS300 2002 automatic transmission. Mind you, it's got the nose together. Wyatt, thank you very much for the follow. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys are enjoying the story also. And I'm going to get into some stuff here in a moment after I tell the story, because this is going to be going up on YouTube, after I go through and I edit it. But so I'm popping hoods, and I get to this Lexus, this 2002 Lexus GS300. It's got a little bit of rear end damage. The trunk had been caved in, so somebody obviously, hit the back of it or something like that, and it was totaled out. Front end, pristine. Bumper, headlights, none of it is really damaged in the front end. So I go and I pop the driver's side door, reach down, and I pop the hood. And, I open up the hood, and the moment I open the hood, I could see it in all its glory. I could see it in all its glory, in fact. So the intake cam was off, and I could instantly tell that it was what I was looking for. It was the inline-6 2JZ GE engine. So the GE is the non-turbocharged variant. Now, somebody had already removed the exhaust manifold and, certain other things like the radiator, and because these cars are first come, first serve. Whoever gets to the yard first starts taking off the parts, brings the parts to the front, pays for them, they're the person who gets them. So the moment I seen the engine, mind you, this is 5 or 7 days ago, I knew I had to get it. I knew I had to do whatever I possibly could to get that engine. Not only for a couple of reasons. One, because I want it for my project car, and the 7M GTE's got certain problems that Toyota, they can be somewhat troubleshooted, but compared to the 7M, the 2JZ, it is just a whole nother beast. It is a whole nother beast. I mean, there's people making 800 horsepower on the low end to 1500 plus on the 2JZ. Mind you, these are with built engines with forged pistons and connecting rods and cams and port and polish and all these massive upgrades. However, I instantly knew that I needed to get it, and I had my tools with me. So the moment I had realized that this was a car with a 2JZ GE engine, and I have a couple of pictures actually. I'm actually gonna share some of these pictures with you guys real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and show you. Also, thank you guys for the likes. Thank you for the follows. Thank you for dropping in some love. I really appreciate it. Let me go ahead and pull up some of these photos so I can show you guys real quick. And bingo. So nestled between, also it was December 21st. December 21st. So today is the 29th, so it was precisely 8 days ago. 8 days ago. So like I said, so I went to the yard, and here's a picture of the hood of the car, or I'm sorry, the windshield. So as you can see, it is a 2002 Lexus GS300, no start, auto transmission. And wedged between these other cars, I took pictures of this so I could remember what row it was in. And nestled between these other cars was this one GS300. So I spent the entire day working on it, you know, roughly from probably 12-ish in the afternoon until the yard closes at, I don't know, 4:30, 5 o'clock. Is it true that the VVTi and the non-VVTi have different size rods or pistons? It actually is true, Kai. So the compression ratio is slightly different. There's also differences in the VVTi head and the non-VVTi head, and same with the GE head and the GTE head. So the GTE head is made for forced induction from the factory. So the ports between the intake and the exhaust are larger. I'm pretty sure the valves are even a little bit bigger. And then also there's slight differences, like I don't know if it's necessarily the rods, but I do know that the pistons are slightly different. The compression ratio on the GE is higher because it's not turbocharged. It's somewhere around 10.1 or 11.1 if I'm not mistaken. And on the GTE, aka the turbocharged variant, which was only ever in the Mark IV Toyota Super Turbo and the Toyota Aristo, which is basically a JDM car that we never really got here in the States, short of them being imported after the 20 or 25 year import rule or law or whatever you want to call it. Basically, that's some of the differences. So there is the compression ratio on the turbocharged variant is a lot lower. It's somewhere around 8.5 to 9.0. And the lower compression ratio actually is a lot better for turbocharged applications because you don't want pre-detonation and certain things that can cause detonation because it is less good when you're pushing high amounts of boost. So that's one of the big differences with the GTE compared to the GE piston. I'm not 100% sure if the rods are different, but I know that most of the lower end, the bottom end is quite similar between the GTE and the GE. Now obviously there's slight differences in the head, and there's also slight differences between VVTi models and non-VVTi models. Okay, so, and also if you have any other questions, just go ahead and drop them in here, and I've got both the chat pulled up. Your 430 is VVTi, so I'm putting you on game. Oh, you got a what is it? You got a Lexus? That's awesome. So I'll be honest with you, I just pulled a 2JZ GE VVTi engine from a GS300, more specifically a 2002 GS300, and the car was nice, man. The car was nice. It was unfortunate because it had some rear end damage, and I'm pretty sure that's why they ended up totaling it out, and the reason it ended up at the yard. So resuming with the story, the moment I had popped the hood and I checked that engine sticker, I saw 2JZ GE. I knew I needed this engine. I had to have it. I had to get it out. So I spent roughly, I think I got there, let me see real quick. So I got there at 1:58 p.m. So from roughly 1:58 until about 4:30, I had spent all day trying to get this engine out. You know, disconnecting the intake manifold and, you know, chopping lines, cutting the wiring harness, and doing everything under the sun in order to get this engine out. Now, the next day, December 22nd, I get to the yard, and I knew that I needed to get an engine hoist. So at the yard, there's 2 engine hoists in the yard. Basically, it's a big frame with a block and tackle. If you know what a block and tackle is, it's basically a couple of chains. It's like a chain hoist that you can use for lifting an engine up and out of a car. Now this thing is massive. It's probably 7 or 8 feet tall, big metal A-frame on wheels. These massive fucking wheels, like that big. So I've got this picture. So the moment I got to the yard, I went and I grabbed this here engine hoist and I wheeled it right over to the engine bay of the car. I hooked it up and I took a little pressure off of the engine mounts and I started working on it. I plucked off the valve covers, and that's how I have all these bolts here. So a lot of these bolts were in a massive pile underneath the engine bay. Now we're gonna get there because those bolts come up at the end of the story, roughly. So I plucked off the valve covers, and I wanted to see how the cams looked. I wanted to take a look inside of the engine without necessarily pulling the head off. So I took a couple pictures of the intake cam caps and the exhaust cam caps. You know, I took a good look at the journals on the cam. I even took a little video so I could remember how they were looking. And what I ended up doing, which is really funny actually, probably gonna laugh at this, but I took the cams out of the car. And the reason I took the cams out of the car is because when I got that engine hoist to the car, I wanted it to look as salvaged as possible. I wanted to discourage anybody who possibly could have seen that engine from wanting to take it, because I wanted it very, very badly. I wanted it very, very badly for my project car. So I ended up plucking out the cams. So as you can see here, I loosened the cam caps and I plucked out the cams and I threw them in the back seat. I threw them under the passenger seat. I threw them under the passenger seat. I took the valve covers off. I threw them in there. I started taking off pulleys and all sorts of stuff, right? And December 22nd. And then I also started putting some weight on the engine. So as you can see, she's a little bit rotated here as I started pulling it up and out of the car. So as I was pulling it up and out of the car, oops, my bad, I'm going back. So as I started pulling it up and out of the car, good morning. We are here. So this was 423. So this is about how much I got done. So I had chopped the wiring harness, I had took off the valve covers, I took off the intake, I had took off the power steering reservoir, a bunch of pulleys. I basically did as much as I possibly could with the tools that I had to be able to get this car as torn down as possible. Now the next day, and this is a little sneak peek because this is gonna be going into the full video, which I'm gonna be editing, uploading here soon. I just haven't had a chance because I've been busy with, you know, the holidays, family, Christmas, everything like that. So the next day, I got to the yard very early at about 8 o'clock in the morning. The yard opens at 8. And I got to the yard because I knew that I had to be there. I had to be there on time, and I need to be the first person working on that 2J, because if anybody else started working on it, it would have been a big problem. So I got to the yard bright and early. The engine hoist was still there connected to the car. We'll back up and show up. We got our tools over yonder. So I also went and I bought a really nice impact. I don't know if you could see it in there. I bought a real nice impact from Milwaukee. So get on out. So this is me. I took a couple pictures with the engine, as you can see, because I was very satisfied at this point. It's actually funny. I'm wearing basically the same outfit right now when I was working on it. But as I was working on it, I started pulling it, and it started to come out, honestly. It started to get really loose. I broke away the engine mounts, and the only thing that was a slight problem is there was only one engine hoist. So on the 2Js and the 7M, there's two engine hoists there's two mounting points for you to hook chains to pull it up and out of the car. Well, somebody had disconnected it, took it, I don't know, it was gone basically. So I only had one point to work with at the back of the engine on the right side, AKA the intake side. So I only had so much that I could work with. And here's a little bit of a better shot. 1UZ Ethan, I thank you very much for hopping in, I appreciate it. So this was right around the time I was having a hard time getting it out. So mind you, I had popped under the car, I had dropped the exhaust from the hangers, I had disconnected the transmission, the drive shaft. So the drive shaft needed to be disconnected. So I got in the car, there's like a little cap that you can like pluck up and out. Even if the car doesn't have power, same with you can go under the car and there's a shift linkage. with the automatics that you can manipulate the shift linkage so you can get it into neutral. I needed to get it into neutral so that I could rotate the drive shaft so I could get the rest of the bolts out. So I'm under this car. Mind you, in the yard, these cars are very sketchily supported. Like, I'm talking, they have like rims that are like stacked and like just barely holding this car up. So it was very sketchy. So I get up under this car, get up under this GS300. Mind you, somebody had already took off the entire exhaust manifold, chopped the downpipe and the mid pipe section. So somebody must have took that for their project. I don't care, I don't need it. That's gonna, you know, I'm gonna have a turbo manifold and all that shit down the road when I get the car back, or when I get the engine back together. So go ahead and put this up a little bit. There we go. So 1UZ Ethan, thank you very much for the follow, brother. I appreciate it. So like I said, I had disconnected the drive shaft. The exhaust was down and out of the hanger so I could access the drive shaft. Shifted it into neutral so I could rotate it, or spin the tires basically, so I could rotate the drive shaft, get the bolts out. Drive shaft had been disconnected. And here's a picture of the engine sticker right here. If my camera will focus on it. Hold on. There we go. So there's our 2JZGE engine sticker right there. So the moment I had seen that, when I first had popped the hood originally, same with this one. When I'd first seen this, 2JZGE right there, right next to my thumb, I knew that I had to get it. So I took a couple pictures with the engine. This is after I had roughly just about gotten it out completely by myself. Mind you, I pulled this engine on my own. The only time I needed backup is when I needed to get help getting it out of the yard up to the front, and then paid for it and then get it back to my spot. So I had took a couple pictures for it, because at this point I had basically knew it was mine. That 2J's mine, baby. She's mine. So I had to take some pictures. And then I've got this video. And mind you, these are sneak peeks, like I said. These are going to be going up on YouTube as a part of the full video.
I just dropped the subframe, and as you can see...
So what I ended up doing is I unbolted the subframe, and the moment I unbolted the subframe, it basically wanted to fall out.
So I can show you guys. But she's almost out.
So there was like literally this much left of the engine, or AKA the transmission, making contact with the firewall.
So right now, very cautiously, I'm going to... So after I dropped the subframe, she wanted to slide right out.
So the moment I disconnected the subframe, the engine wanted to fall out of the car. Not like fall out onto the ground, but it glided out graciously. Oh, also for reference, I took out the headlights. I took off the bumper. I took off the bumper, like the physical tubular steel part of the bumper. I had hammered that off, threw that off to the side. And then the other thing that I did is there was also like the lower radiator support and like what do you call that? AC condenser, like the fuck do you call it? The AC condenser. You know what I'm talking about. So when I bought tools, I bought a bunch of batteries, right? I bought a high impact torque impact gun, like 880 foot-pounds of torque. Mind you, I got that entire engine out because of that high torque impact wrench, right? It's a 1/2 inch, it's a big boy. I don't have it over here, otherwise I'd show it. But that high torque impact was the entire sole reason I was able to get this engine out of the car. But I also had bought a 5-inch angle grinder. So when I bought the 5-inch angle grinder, I got a bunch of Diablo blades so I could cut it. So what I also did is I cut that entire like nose of the car off, like, because there was a huge steel beam after I knocked the bumper off, and the bumper, you know, whatever you want to call it, the physical metal bash bar of the bumper, not the plastic piece, you know what I mean? After I took both of those off, there was a metal piece that was there for the lower radiator support. So I'm in there, cutting away with this damn thing. I'm cutting and cutting and cutting. I get one side cut off, I get the other side cut off, I throw this thing off to the side, hammer down the sharp parts so I don't cut myself. And now I was able to I could basically lay on the engine. That's how, you know, how much room I had made for myself. And I knew I was going to need this room in order to get this engine out. So there's no more nose on this car. I'm talking the headlights are gone, the radiator support, everything is gone, the bumper is gone, you name it. So, and here,
ta-da! She's making a little mess, but it's okay. Fluids is a good thing. Anyways, go ahead and zoom in real quick. As you can see,
so that was just about what was left of the transmission making contact with the firewall.
drive shaft connects to the trans, and everything else has been disconnected. The linkages.
So everything else at this point had been disconnected. The linkages, you name it, the engine mounts, wires, heater hose, you name it, it's gone. It's gone. There's literally nothing holding this engine in this car. It is supported solely by this engine hoist.
She's almost out. She is almost out. And what I'm going to do here in a minute.
And the next thing I'll show you is here's when I actually got the engine up and out of the car. So before I had dropped the subframe, which was like 4 massive bolts, thankfully I had that high torque impact wrench. Otherwise, I would have not been able to drop the subframe because of the fact that there was only one engine hoist point, right, at the rear where the intake valve was, at the back of the valve cover, right, on the side of the engine where the intake manifold goes on. I had a little bit of a hard time being able to shimmy the engine. If I had another mounting point, I would have been able to hook at the front, right, pull the engines up and out, right, and then tipped the transmission down. But because I had to hook at like the midpoint between the transmission and the engine, the balance was very neutral. So I couldn't necessarily tip the engine up, tip the transmission downwards and pull it up and out. So I needed to get this subframe dropped, otherwise I would have not gotten this engine out by myself. So here is a quick little time lapse that I did. And as you can see, this is right after I had basically cleared the firewall and she was swaying. There was not a whole lot left. So this is me loosening the last couple of bolts holding the transmission to the engine, putting her down on the ground, and getting the transmission off. So here in this quick little clip, this is about 30 seconds. I rotated over, got the transmission disconnected. Now all that's left is the engine, the torque converter, and the head, basically all together. So once I had done that, I took a couple pictures of it to celebrate, and that's a good little picture after I'd gotten the engine out, the transmission disconnected, and I was very ecstatic. I was very, very happy. I'm gonna be honest with you, I can't even believe, I'd probably weigh a good 140 pounds, I'll be honest with you. I'm not a massive dude. I didn't have any help. I had no, I called and funnily enough, the day before, I called my dad and I had to call him in for backup. I was like, Dad, I don't think I'm gonna get this transmission out. Or the engine and transmission out by myself because I didn't drop the subframe at this point. So I was really concerned. I was like, man, I don't think I'm gonna be able to get this bad boy out myself. And my dad was like, I can't help you until tomorrow. This was tomorrow because I went there early. I got to the yard at 7:40. I had my shopping cart with all my tools in it, the high torque impact wrench, the angle grinder, like 15 extra cutoff wheels. Dude, I'm telling you, this engine was coming home with me and nobody else. And since the day previously, I had hooked up the engine hoist and I started, I took off the valve covers, I took the cams out, I'd loosened everything up, and I even had the engine mounts disconnected. So there was nothing holding this engine in, and there was nothing stopping anybody, like 2 guys, from literally just pulling this engine out by using the hoist. So I had to do my damnedest to get there early and to get this damn engine. Like, I'm telling you, can I show the engine right now? I can show you pictures of the engine right now. I'm going to be honest with you. The engine is over because, that's a great question. I'll be honest with you. I can't right this second because the engine is over yonder next to where the carport is at. It's like way over there. At some point, I'm going to be honest with you, I have a couple of other things to disconnect on the engine. And once I have the engine disconnected and mounted on the engine stand, I'm gonna bring it over here so I can do a live stream and recording of us breaking down the engine, tearing it down, and doing all the fun stuff. Hold on one second, let me just make sure. All right, so that's still got power. Okay, I can keep yapping for a hot more minute. So let me go ahead and show you a couple pictures. So here is right after I had taken it out of the GS300. There's our good old 2JZ stamp on the block. Chino, thank you for jumping into the live, man. I appreciate it. Hope you're having a good Sunday. And I had to wait for my dad and his friend to get there so that they could help me get the engine up to the front so I could pay for it and so I could get it up and out of the yard. So there's their good old 2JZ stamp. And then once I had gotten it home, here's a quick little video of once I got it home. So once I got the engine home, that's it in front of the Mark III Supra. So I got the good old 2JZ. That's actually where it's at right now. It's over there, so hence why I can't show you it right this second. But once I get it mounted on the engine stand, I'm gonna bring that engine over here where I'm currently sitting at, and we're gonna do a live stream and a recording of tearing the rest of that engine down. Mind you, a lot of it has already been taken off. I took off the valve covers, I took off the torque converter, the ring gear. There's a couple of other things I have to take off, and then I can start doing cleanup and, you know, tearing off the head and all that fun stuff. But I'll go ahead and show you real quick. All right, there we go. So that's a picture of the 2J sitting in front of my Mark III Supra. So there's a picture of the good old 2J sitting in front of the Mark III Supra. And so I put down a big mover's blanket, that way I didn't damage the oil pan or anything. And I also lay down a tarp so I didn't have a bunch of oil and grime going all over, you know, whatever was left. Okay, so yeah, basically I had gotten the engine home. I had my dad show up to the yard. Unfortunately, I didn't have any video of me bringing the engine out of the yard and loading it or anything like that, just because I was more concerned. I needed to be helping and facilitating getting that engine into the truck and getting it paid for and transporting it to the front. So I wasn't able to shoot video because I was more concerned with everybody else's safety and making sure nobody got hurt or anything like that happened. So basically, up to this point, I didn't have a whole lot of video, but I had enough that I needed for being able to shoot and throw it into a YouTube video of me taking it out of the car and getting it back to my spot. So now we're at present day. Now we're at present day, and just the other day I ended up getting the torque converter off. Now I have a whole video of me taking the torque converter off. I'm not gonna show every single thing on here because I want to get into what I was actually planning on doing, but there's a good old 2J stamp. That's the torque converter and the ring gear where the starter engages the ring gear. And I ended up figuring out where I could disconnect the torque converter from. So I have a whole video of me doing that, and that's going to be going up too. I just got to edit it and throw it all together. But that also, thank you guys for the likes, man. Whoever is dropping all the likes, I appreciate it. I know before we were at like 200. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So yeah, up to this point, we had gotten the 2J out of the GS300. We brought it up to the front. We had paid for it, and I'm going to talk about how much I paid for this engine. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think I've got, if not the cheapest 2JZ engine in the country, I think I might have the cheapest 2JZ engine in history. And it's going to take some more money, you know, throwing money into the engine to refresh it and to make sure, you know, everything's up to par to make a significant amount of horsepower reliably. But I'm okay with that, with how much I paid for this engine. And I'm going to be honest with you, I paid less than $500 for this 2JZ engine. Hence why I wanted to get it the first time when I had seen it, and hence why I absolutely needed to get it out of that yard the second time I found one, okay? So, up to this point, like I said, I got the 2J out, we had paid for it, we transported it home, and now we're at present day. So, also, when I was at the yard, I had started collecting all the extra bolts and nuts and you name it that were under the car, and I threw them in a big bucket. More specifically, a bucket like this. Now, inside this bucket now we're talking about present day, just about, I think it was yesterday. So yesterday, I went to Harbor Freight, and I picked up this thing called an ultrasonic cleaner. Now, the ultrasonic cleaner also heats, so it's basically, it vibrates the water and parts together, and uses degreaser, and it also heats the water or degreaser or whatever. That way, it can degrease the bolts and grimy parts. So, for example, here are what some of these bolts look like. Because, mind you, these came off of a very, very grimy engine. I'll go ahead and show you that. So these bolts are very, very grimy. So I had all these bolts were up and under this engine bay laying in coolant, brake fluid, you name it. You name the fluid, the transmission fluid, oil, they were laying in it. And they were, and I didn't know what went where. I mean, I had a slight understanding of what bolts went where, but mind you, when I was taking these bolts and stuff off, I was just throwing them in a bucket. So I have to sort all these bolts, and that's also why I picked up the ultrasonic cleaner, so I could clean up the grime. So this is a good example of one that didn't make it into the ultrasonic cleaner yet. Get my face out of frame, that way I can focus on this. So here's one that didn't make it into the ultrasonic cleaner. TikToker, thank you very much for jumping in the live, and I appreciate the follow. Thank you very much. I also hope that you're having a good Sunday night. And so yeah, here we've got a couple of bolts. So the other night I had spent probably 2 hours using the ultrasonic cleaner to clean a bunch of grime off of these bolts. Now I still have to sort these, and I have to hit them with a little water one last time, but I put them into these jars. And you can see, this was clean the other night. This was clean orange Zep. So citrus degreaser, the orange stuff, it was bright orange. So after I had put them in the ultrasonic cleaner and scrubbed them with brass wire and brass, stainless, and nylon brushes, I had threw them into these jars. That way they could soak in some degreaser, and so that I could tear them down, clean them up. And so now I've got an assortment of jars with a bunch of dirty degreaser and grimy bolts inside of them. Now, mind you, they're a lot cleaner than when I first started. These bolts were caked, and I'm telling you, they're caked with grime. So now we're up to present day. Now I had to bring you guys up to speed. So what the hell am I doing? What did I spend all that time breaking down the story for? Well, right behind me, I am almost done putting together this here bench grinder. So I went to Harbor Freight. I had to return a couple of tools that I wasn't able to use. And I got this little bench grinder. I'm gonna go ahead and lift it up. It's a little heavy, but I got this 6-inch bench grinder, right? And it came with 2 wheels on it. It came with stone and stone on both sides. So what I decided to do is, I got the brilliant idea of, I'm gonna get a bench grinder, I'm gonna get a wire wheel, and I'm gonna get a cloth wheel. That way I can hit the cloth wheel, I can use the cloth wheel for getting things like this bolt. See this bolt where it's got a bunch of corrosion and like rust and stuff on it? Well, what we're gonna do is, we're gonna use the bench grinder to clean all this good old grime off of this bolt. And what we're gonna do is, we're gonna hit it with the wire wheel, and then after we've hit it with the wire wheel, that is why I've got a assortment of metal polish. So this is heavy duty metal polish. This is good on chrome, stainless, aluminum, dozen of other metals. Got to go ahead and shake that up. So if they need just one pass, I'm gonna probably start with the heavy metal polish, because this is a little bit more aggressive on the cut. So we're going to use this. We've also got some light metal polish. This is also from Chemical Guys. Same with the other one, good on chrome, stainless, and aluminum, and other metals, right? And then, last but not least, if we need it, I also picked this up from good old Home Depot. This is called Brasso, and this is good on an assortment of metals. So what we're going to use this for potentially is if the others, if they need like a little light polish or to finish them up to a nice shine, we might use that. So I just spent about an hour and a half prepping everything, from setting up the video camera, making sure that we've got lighting, making sure that I could live stream all of this to you guys, and make sure that the extension cord was safe, that it wasn't going to cause a fire by using this. Basically, I wanted to make sure, I jumped through all the hoops to make sure everything was going to be safe and everything worked proper. Go ahead and extend this. There we go. So now what I'm working on is I've got a little bit left to assemble on this good old bench grinder. We've got a couple of lights and we've got some shielding that I'm going to go ahead and put on here. So we got some lights, right? And then we got some safety shields. So we're going to go ahead and put these on here in a moment. And it's only 9 o'clock right now, so it's still relatively early, as you can see. And today is December 29th, Sunday. And all these bolts over here that are in this grimy degreaser, well, I took this bucket, and we go ahead and put the bench grinder back over yonder. Also, the reason, I know that this is called a bench grinder, but I don't have a bench to grind on until I get to build one. So in the meantime, I am going to be using this on the ground, hence why I've been sitting down here the whole time. So I have so this is actually this is the mesh or wire bucket that came with the ultrasonic cleaner, and I've got some assorted bolts in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to use this so we can strain out our bolts from our dirty degreaser, so that we can reuse this degreaser. We can throw it in the ultrasonic cleaner and get a good extra use out of this degreaser. Even though it's pretty grimy, it's nothing near like what the other degreaser currently in the ultrasonic cleaner looks like. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and dump those into this bucket. We're going to sift out the big old bolts from the degreaser, and then I'm going to take the degreaser out. I'm going to wash these bolts down with some water, and then we're going to let them dry. So I'm going to do that here in a moment. And then once we've gotten our bolts drying and cleaned out of the degreaser, we're going to bring them over here. We're going to hit them on the wire wheel. So on this side, we've got a wire, as you can see. So this is our wire wheel. And here on this side, we've got a cotton pad. So this is a cotton wheel, and then I can put compound on the cotton wheel and clean up the rest of the bolts. The wire wheel is to help get rid of any corrosion, anything that's in the threads. And like I said, I got to put the shields on, I got to put the lights on. But that is how what we're doing and how we're up to speed. Anyways, I've also got some channel locks, so I can go ahead and hold the bolts and not smoke my fingers on a wire wheel, because that's not going to be fun. But that's how we are where we are now. So I'm going to go ahead and set you guys up a little bit differently, and we're going to go ahead and start sifting out these bolts because they are dirty. And I've already got an assortment of bolts here. You can see some of these are absolutely grimy. So I'm going to go ahead and throw these here in our bucket. Since these are already dry, actually, I think I'm just going to dump these out. That's what I think I'm going to do. Oh, you know what? Give me 2 seconds. I have to go grab something from. I have a metal bin that I can put all these in, and I'm going to go grab that real quick. Whew. So here is our good old magnetic parts tray. Here I come back into frame now. Go ahead and put you guys back up. So we got this bad boy here. This is a 9.5 magnetic parts tray with a hood. So I'm gonna go ahead and tear this bad boy open. So here is our good old metal parts bin. And it's magnetic, as you can see here on the bottom. So I'm going to use this to throw our bolts in. So all these extra bolts, ta-da! And like I said, it's also magnetic, so it's going to keep all our bolts all together. So a lot of these have already been pretty dang clean. They're still going to need some time of on the grinder wheel. But once we hit these with the grinder wheel, they should be looking just about brand new. So I got a couple of these. This is a really, really good example of one that definitely needs. Let me go ahead and zoom in real quick on this. This is a great example of one that needs to be hit with the wire wheel. As you can see, it's got a bunch of corrosion. It's got a bunch of rust on it. So we're going to be hitting those with the good old wire wheel. Clean those up. So here we got our bolts. Go ahead and throw those in there. And I'm also going to go ahead and take the camera, point it back down here. So what I've got to do is clean up some more of these. There we go. Go ahead and put the, there we go. That should be good right there. Okay, so I got a couple more parts to this bench grinder we got to put together to be safe and so that it's all together. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this. Go ahead and mount these up. We got the instructions right here. Believe it or not, Harbor Freight parts, you're definitely going to need some instructions, otherwise you're going to be lost. So we got these bad boys here. It looks like they go this way, so this one's going to be for the right side. This one is going to be for the left side. And then it looks like, let's see, looks like these go this way. How do these go is a good question. All right, so it looks like this one is going to be for the right side. Oh, that's important. Let's go ahead and put these on. So we got some work rest areas. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this. What I'm putting together. All right, that's more like it. So I'm going to, let's see how these go on. Looks like they go on. All right, so this is going to be for the right side. Yep. Okay, that's gonna be for the right side. I don't know why. I feel like I might be missing bolts. Am I right? No, I think I've got everything I'm looking for. Never mind. All right. So we got our bolt here. Got our bolt. We got our tool rest area. And we've also got a little nub end cap, whatever you want to call this, a little knob. So you got these three parts. Oh man, I think I know what I did. Touch the focus ring, huh? Yeah, yes I did. All right. So we got these three parts. We got a screw, we got our knob, and we got our rest area. I'm gonna go ahead and install these onto the good old bench grinder real quick. All right, go ahead and put the bolt through, thread the knob on. There we go. All right, go ahead and pull that back a little bit. All right, knob's tight. We're gonna do the same on the right side. Go ahead and stick our bolt through. Throw this on and screw on our knob on the other side. Let's go ahead and do this real quick so I can get this on. All right, so that's nice and tight now. And I've got our two lights. So this one is going to be for the right side, and this one's going to be for the left side, I think. Let's just double check. All right, so go ahead and take these screws out. All right, so this one looks like it's going to go on that side. This one looks like it's going to go on this side. Go ahead, go ahead and attach these. Okay, I'm actually gonna turn this up on its back side and tighten these bolts down. Okay, we got our light attached. This one looks like it's going to be for the left side. This one looks like it's going to be for the right side, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not. All right, there we go. Got that bad boy attached. Yeah, this one looks like it's for the left side, so it's going to go over there. All right, Dominique, thank you for jumping into live. I appreciate it. Right now I am working on putting this here bench grinder together. Almost done too. Just to catch everybody up to speed, that's what I'm working on. So these have a little light on the bottom and a protective shield. Go ahead and tighten that down. Awesome. Now we've got our adjustable shield, right? And that's going to be for the left side. And this one here is going to be for the right side. Go ahead and get this off real quick. And I might even go ahead and zoom you guys out here in a minute, just so that's a little bit more entertaining than just being fully zoomed in the whole time. Oh man. Okay. So here's what I'm working on. I'm gonna go ahead and put this shield on here. Here we go. All right, there we go. So now we've got our adjustable light, which you can put somewhere like right there. And we've got this. We're probably not going to need this as much on this side. Probably going to be more necessary for the left side, where we've got a massive wire wheel, which is sketch. So I'm just going to take these bolts out, these screws. Let me go ahead and get a better shot of what I'm actually doing. There we go. And this screws on like that. There we go. All right, bench grinder is done. Go ahead and zoom out. So here we got the bench grinder all put together. As we can see, we've got our lighting. Ta-da! Which we could probably have somewhere like right there. And we've also got some shielding. Shielding is very, very important. So shielding folds down just like that. Obviously, you're going to want that when you're using a wire wheel. So we've got the good old shielding that you can see through. We got the tool rest down here on the bottom. And here on the right side, we got our buffing wheel. Which I think I don't know if I'm gonna be able to use the buffing wheel tonight because I think I need to get some form of spacers. I think I need to get like some washers or something because this thing is just not tight, unfortunately. I tried tightening it down as I possibly could, but no bueno. So anyways, we've at least got it set up somewhat. And that's interesting. So yeah, all right, there's our instructions. We can go ahead and get these out of the way now. And it looks like I'm gonna have to plug in our receiver soon because it looks like it is running out of battery. But in the meantime, we've got our part cart. We've got our good old bench grinder, which has been converted to a wire wheel and polisher wheel now. As you can see, let me go ahead and show y'all real quick. Here is how it's looking. So we got our wire wheel on this side, on the left. We got our polisher wheel here on the right. We got our compound. We got everything just about set up. So I think what I'm gonna do here is I might end up taking a break. I gotta charge my, go ahead and pull my camera up real quick because I have to charge my receiver. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm starting to get a little hungry, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and make something to eat and take a break. And I might either come back and start working on this tonight, or I might start working on it tomorrow, because I'll be honest with you, I'm starting to get a little cold and I'm starting to get a little tired. So I think what I might end up doing is taking a good little break and grabbing something to eat and then go from there. But anyways, in the meantime, this has been JDMJ. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. I gotta put this down because I just can't stand like that. But yeah, this has been me just kind of telling the story of how I came across the 2J, how we got the engine out, and how we're here, and what's going on now. So the other thing I'm gonna do too, that I'll probably video, is we're gonna sift out the degreaser from the bolts, and then we're gonna let them dry off. I'm gonna go ahead and rinse them with some warm water, and then we're gonna go from there. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning into the live stream. Thank you everybody who showed some love and had some questions. I had a good time, and I'm gonna go ahead and take a break, get something to eat, and we're gonna go from there.